In these perilous times, see from current events how biblical prophecy is coming to pass in front of our eyes. You're watching In the Last Days, the program that looks at Israel and the end times with teaching from a Hebraic perspective. With Martin and Natalie Blackham, thank you to our friends and partners who make this program possible. Now, here's Martin and Natalie.
Hi, welcome to the In the Last Days television program with myself, Martin Blackham, and my wife, Natalie Blackham. Great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wherever you're watching in the world, we want you to feel very warmly welcome to this Hanukkah special, where we're going to be looking at the Feast of Hanukkah. We're going to have a look at a few emails. We're going to have a look at a bit of the news and the Feast of Hanukkah. And you're also going to be able to look behind the scenes in an Orthodox family who are celebrating Hanukkah, so that's going to be really exciting and we're looking forward to this. We have a little bit of video and you're not going to want to miss any of this program. So just very quickly now today, I've got one or two emails and then we're going to go straight into the Feast of Hanukkah. Now, one of the important things, and I think at the beginning of the program we need to establish this, is that it is a feast from the New Testament. Because some people might say, well, this is, something that the Jewish...
It's
written in the New Testament, and it's from the New Testament, because Jesus celebrated it in John, I believe it's chapter 10. Yeah. So, let's go straight into emails. This is from Malcolm and Sheila. Just wanted to say that we do appreciate all that you're doing on In the Last Days. We learn quite a lot from it, particularly liked Eliezer Ben Yehuda and the teaching. Thank you very much, Malcolm and Sheila. Thank you so much. And we had an email from Kevin. Kevin says, great program last night with the Olim, that's the Jewish people making Aliyah, coming home to Israel. The speech from the wonderful man from the Knesset, Rabbi Dov Lippman. I have a love for the Jews to make Aliyah. God bless you. So we know that you're really enjoying the program. So thank you so much for emails. Don't forget you can email us at info@inthelastdays.com. So we're going to go straight into the Hanukkah.
I have an email. You see, Martin has always email, and now I say, hey, wait a minute, let me also find my email. So I received an email this morning from Elizabeth, and I read you what she was saying. Greeting from, thank you. I received your book last week and read it. I will have to reread it again and again to absorb all the information. I love the Lord so much. I want to pray in Hebrew to be as close as possible to Him. I am 64 years old and no great scholar, but I hope to learn even a little bit of the Holy Language. Thank you for your blessing and dedication. This is very interesting because, again, you see, Shabbat time, we read the Torah together. And usually we read it in English, and I read it a bit in Hebrew. And yesterday I didn't have Shabbat. I didn't have my Hebrew Bible, and I was reading it in English. And I was like, this is just not. It's terrible now because it seems to be a story, but when you read it in Hebrew, it's like every word hits you. There is something in Hebrew. So I really encourage you. I know it's hard. It's hard even for me, which is good, so we can encourage everybody that, it's hard to learn a new language. But when you start to get it, and you are getting used to do it, when you don't do it, you really miss it. So, I really encourage everybody to move on, even if it's just a bit, just the alphabet, the letters, and that I've done this book, and if you want to have it, it's very easy. You go on PayPal, you go on our website. But there is something, and people all around the world, there is more and more people learning the Hebrew language. It's really something that's happening in the last days. So it's all part of all the things.
Now, yesterday, Natalie, we were at in the Karin and Breslov Hasidic communities with the very extreme Orthodox, absolutely amazing. We went with other journalists to go into the communities and see the Hanukkah, because as we're doing the program, it's Hanukkah here in Israel. So I think you're going to introduce the program, aren't you?
Yes. First of all, I want to show you, we went with this family, and you can just watch now when they light the candles. It was the 5th day, and it's all the family together. So watch that. So you see, when you see the candles and the light like coming into the community, and I will show you some more pictures. I went to Jerusalem and in the old city, and it was beautiful to see. The thing is, they have to put the light out. It's not, you don't hide the light anymore. You have to put the light outside because maybe somebody doesn't have a Hanukkah, you know, the candelabra, and so they want everybody to have the joy to see the light. And
but I've got a practical question. If they put the light outside, how come it doesn't blow out?
Because they make them in a little box.
In a box?
Most
How
of
can
the
you see
time.
it if it's in a box?
It's a window box. They can see on the pictures. You saw some yesterday.
I was just asking you because
Okay.
for the viewers, I mean, people might not know
Sorry,
that.
I mean, sometimes they put it outside, sometimes they put it in the window, but it needs to be able to be seen out of the, you know, out of the...
What Natalie's saying is that they're actually in glass boxes so that they don't get blown out, but you can actually go and see them, go walking around the streets, and which we saw last night. And I don't know if we've got a photograph of that, but if we have, we'll put that on. You've got the glass box with the candelabra, with them lighting, and they don't light all of them, do they?
No, it's like the beautiful thing, the feast of Hanukkah is 8 days. So every day, and we started to do it a few years ago, and the beautiful thing is like you have two lights the first day, because you have always the servant light, which is called shamash, which is interesting because we can parallel thing a lot also with Yeshua, and like he was the servant king. And this light is called shamash, which means servant. So again, he brings the light to all the candles. So you have 9 candles on your candelabra. How do you say? Candelabra. And so the one in the middle is the one who will light. You take the little light and you will light all the others. And again, you have different, you know, Jewish tradition, like in France or in England, you have different traditions. So some have only one candelabra, but some will have 5 for the kids to light up because they are learning about all these things. So it's just beautiful. But the thing is like you see this light, and at the end of the festival, you have even more light. And it's like, I tell you, it's so exciting to see these things. And the lady was telling us yesterday, this is a new thing for me, is like they love to do it in their home. So even if they have a family who lives somewhere else in Israel, they will light the candle in their home because it's important to have this miracle happening in your home. And after they go in the family of the others and they travel and they go to see each other. So it's very busy. Jerusalem is very busy.
Yeah, well, of course, with the traffic last night was very, it was tricky to move around because what happens is people visit their family, they celebrate Hanukkah together. And the strange thing is, just before I come on to the background of Hanukkah, the strange thing is why in the church it's not celebrated, bearing in mind it's not in the Old Testament, but it's in the New Testament. And bearing in mind Jesus celebrated it, the early Christians celebrated Hanukkah, and yet we seem to have lost it. So that's a question for you. I know a lot of you at home, they'll be watching and saying, yes, we know about this, Martin. We know that Hanukkah is important to celebrate, isn't it?
It's coming back. It's like, you see, we are doing it, we're doing program about it, and there is many Christians. I go on my Facebook, and I see many people who are speaking about Hanukkah. And very often I say to my kids, you know, no Hanukkah, no Jews, and no Yeshua, no salvation, even for us.
And from, this is the area where we're filming today, is actually was called at one stage, it's not called at the moment, but it was actually the Maccabean Council. And a lot of people believe, Natalie, that this area was where the Maccabees were. And in fact, in Modi'in, that's definitely where it all started.
Yeah.
And we can just talk a little bit about the story. What happened was that they came into a Jewish, I think it's a Jewish town, and it was Modi'in. And they, it says the Jewish resistance, because what the background to Hanukkah was that the land was occupied, the land of Israel, by the Greeks. And so, which is okay, an occupying force, as long as they allow you to do what you normally do. But they started to have a great anti-Semitism, which is funny, isn't it? That anti-Semitism rises its ugly head, and that's the reason of the story of Hanukkah. And
So
in 160,
you're right. And what they couldn't do, they couldn't have Shabbat. They couldn't have circumcision, which is very interesting because right now, even in Europe, a lot of countries are arguing that circumcision is not the right thing and it hurts the baby, which is a lot of nonsense. When you dig into circumcision, it's very interesting to see the benefit. But it's not just that. This was showing, God was saying, this is the covenant that you are showing into your flesh, that you are belonging to me. So this was like the core of something, and they didn't have the right also to have Rosh Chodesh, which is like the new month. So again, that means that they were like out of the calendar, of God's calendar, which was again taking out the basic things to say God is God. And so it was becoming, sorry, just wanted to say, it was like this Hellenist, the Greeks who were coming, it was like man was very important. It was put on the pedestal when it should be God who was put on the throne. So it's very interesting.
Now, the thing is with anti-Semitism is that it slowly creeps up, like the fact that the Jewish people can't circumcise, which is happening now in certain countries in Europe, the ban on circumcision, and it slowly creeps into other areas of their of their lives. And what happened was that the Jewish resistance to the Greek occupation, this is about 168 BCE for you who are interested in history, Jewish resistance began in the village of Modi'in near Jerusalem, which is not far, we can see it from where we are today. Greek soldiers forcibly gathered the Jewish villagers and told them to bow down to an idol, then eat the flesh of a pig, which is the second issue, because we have the circumcision issue, then we have the kosher issue, where some countries in Europe, even today, are saying for Jewish people not to be able to eat kosher. And this is exactly what happened before in the time of the Maccabees. A Greek officer ordered the high priest, whose name was Matthias, to acquiesce to their demands, but Matthias refused. When another villager stepped forward and offered to cooperate, the high priest became outraged. He drew his sword and killed the villager, then turned on the Greek officer and killed him too. His 5 sons and the other villagers then attacked the remaining soldiers. Matthias and his family went to hide in the mountains, which is where we are, in the mountains. And as you know, Jerusalem is surrounded by mountains, where other Jews wishing to fight against the Greeks joined them. Eventually they succeeded in retaking their land from the Greeks. These rebels became known as the Maccabees. Once the Maccabees had regained control, they returned to the temple in Jerusalem. And one of the interesting things is, with the Maccabee campaign to retake the land, a lot of military people and people in the army study their campaign because they were so successful. I mean, basically it was a guerrilla warfare which they had to range from this area. So, you know.
There were very few. There were very few. This was just amazing to see how the miracle was they took stand and God took stand with them to back them up. So this was just amazing.
Now I think we have you've got another video clip.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. We have again, you will enjoy again this clip. This is again the family, and they take half an hour every day during this holidays to be with the family, and you will see there is babies and uncles and they are singing now, and it's lovely songs. And I will give you one of the story. I mean, one of the thing or this saying is Mao's Tsur, which is called the Rocky Fortress, and is Mao Tzu Yeshuati, the rocky fortress of my salvation. It is delightful to praise you. Restore my house of prayer, and they will give thanks with an offering when you have prepared the slaughter for the blaspheming foe. When I will complete with a song of hymn the dedication of the altar, then I will complete with a song of hymn the dedication of the altar. And it's really showing like to God, you know, they are dedicating again their home. They are dedicating their lives to follow God and to really want to enjoy to be with Him and the family. So enjoy this clip.
וגם שום לא שוקטתי ובוגד ואילני כי זורי מובדתי וירבתי כמעט שעברתי כדמו בן זהו מובד לקצ'בים לא שותי כדמו בן זהו מובד לקצ'בים לא שותי Estoy más de hoy, y que ya viven a mi rostro, bendigo, no le bajo de moche, venga por hoy mis rostro, hoy que mi niceito, me oye shmoy mojito, hoy no me quiño, no, ando hecho bonito, hoy no me quiño, no. Hallo, ich soll listo, ihr wohnt in Gretchen. Amen, Hashmani, Vonzi Mabach, Vetimu Hashmani, Uino Yakakani, Natone Shoshani, Nevino Yemishno, Tomu Shiu Eloni, Nevino Yemishno, Tomu Shiu Eloni, Hasoyo Yakochecho, Nekoel Keteshu, Nekoel Mizadecho, Me'oisho,
So this is amazing, you know, because they are singing these songs, and this song, like we are speaking Mao's 2, the lyric of this song is dated from approximately the 13th centuries, and the music would be about around the 15th centuries. So it's like they are singing traditional songs, and you know, we're speaking about Christmas, and you see, Christmas has been added, but and even like us as Christians living in the land, we are discovering how important is Hanukkah. And sometimes my children are saying, yeah, but you know, this is not our tradition. I say, we kind of have some new tradition. We really are at the passage where Christians are discovering the Jewish roots.
So one of the important things of Hanukkah, Natalie, is the oil. Because we've talked now about the reason of Hanukkah, which is the celebration of the Maccabees retaking the land of Israel, and the miracle that this small bunch of Jewish people were able to retake their land, not unlike the miracle of today, where the Jewish people are back in the land. But why the oil? So we have to look at why they had the oil. So once they'd regained the land, they got to the temple, the temple had been spiritually defiled by being used for the worship of foreign gods, and also practices such as the sacrificing of pigs Jewish troops were determined to purify the temple by burning ritual oil in the temple's menorah for 8 days. But to their dismay, Natalie, they discovered that there was only 1 day's worth of oil left in the temple. So you can imagine this. They've got, so they come back to the temple, they regain it, which is so amazing because, folks, you know, we're in the day where, you know, the temple is in our hands again, and yet there's a struggle, there's a battle, and even, I don't know if it's in the, I didn't know if I had it in the Jerusalem Post today, maybe it's further into the paper, about the difficulty for the Jewish people to be on the Temple Mount.
And funny enough, yesterday I read some news, and there were some Jewish people who were singing some songs from Hanukkah on the Temple Mount, and they were arrested. And they were stopped. I mean, not just that, they closed the Temple Mount, and they were singing songs of Hanukkah, which was like exactly about that.
So exactly, and so we're in a day where there's a battle again for the Temple Mount, a battle for the you know, to have the temple again. They had this oil, 1 day's worth of oil left in the temple. They lit the menorah anyway, even though that it might go out. But to their surprise, the small amount of oil, Natalie, lasted full 8 days. This is the miracle of Hanukkah, oil that is celebrated every year when the Jews light a special menorah known as the Hanukkah for 8 days. 1 candle is on the first night of Hanukkah, 2 on the second, and so on until all the 8 lights of Hanukkah have been lit. So the other interesting thing is about oil.
They're eating a lot of oily things.
Oh, they do. They eat fried. For those of you who like fried food at home, they eat a lot of fried food, don't they? And they eat this fried, like a donut. Yeah. But I don't know if it's made.
Sugvaniot. Yeah, it's a donut.
And it's like a fried donut, and they eat that.
Many of them. They have 8 days.
So they have 8 days of that. Yeah. They also eat a thing called latkes. And pancakes made out of potatoes and onions, which are fried in oil and then served with applesauce. And there's also the oil. I noticed, one of the things I noticed, and we were yesterday with the Orthodox family in their home, that they actually used olive oil. The sort of cooking, which you would normally go to the store and buy oil, and they used it for cooking.
But I understand
for using, the cooking oil for the candle.
Yeah, because they want also the candle to last quite a long time, and if you have a little candle, it doesn't last very long at all. So yeah, you're right.
And it's interesting, you know, that we talked about Jesus and Yeshua and the Hanukkah, which is from John 22, and you can look at that
John
as
10,
John 10:22.
Yeah.
As we come to the end of the program, you can look this up. This is from John 10, chapter 10, 22, 23. It says the feast of dedication, which is what? By the way, Hanukkah means in English to dedicate. Yeah. So the feast is the celebration is for the rededication of the temple, which is very interesting. And that Jesus was there. It says in John 10:22, the feast of dedication, Hanukkah, then took place in Jerusalem. It was winter, so you know, it's just confirming. John is confirming that this is that it's Hanukkah that's taking place. And Jesus was walking in the temple. Why was he walking in the temple? Because of that's where they would be celebrating.
And
Hanukkah.
they loved it. Yeah, we don't realize, you know, now that we are here and we are learning. The temple was so central for them, and not like as important just because in the head, but it's like it was a place of God's presence, and everything. They had the power of God's presence with them when they had the temple, so they knew that they had to fight to be able to have the temple rededicated, because it was for them. It was like, we want you, God. We want you here with us. We don't want you. We want to do the right thing. And want to give you this holy place for you. And so right now there is some Jewish people who are the same, saying we have our country again, we have Jerusalem again, but we are not able to go and praise God in his temple, on the Temple Mount. And some people, there is really a movement now who say we want him again here.
And that's why the synagogue has really taken on an importance, because of the fact that they're not able to go to the temple, and that they're able only to go to the synagogue. And what's very interesting is that, you know, the fight for the land, this is the Jerusalem Post. I'll get that on the camera, Jerusalem Post, and if you can see, it says, Prime Minister's office stresses Israel is not going ahead with preliminary plans for 24,000 housing units beyond the Green Line. And that's just as the same as the time of the Maccabees. They're having to fight, and even the Jewish people are having a fight internally between themselves to get the land back, to get, you know, the Green Line, the land is theirs. And so this Feast of Hanukkah that we've been talking about through the program is so relevant even for today, because the Maccabees had to fight every inch of the land to get back the land of Israel, and the Jewish people today are fighting for the land of Judea and Samaria, known unfortunately by the media of the world as the West Bank. They're having to fight to have this land back back again. So, you know, it's even relevant today as we come into your homes. So it's been great to be with you. We've really enjoyed celebrating Hanukkah with you, and we hope you've enjoyed the program. Don't forget, you can email us at info@inthelastdays.com, and remember, we're living in the last days.
You've been watching In the Last Days, a TV program with Martin and Natalie Blackham, the program that looks at Israel and the end times with teaching from a Hebraic perspective. If you would like to financially support the program or find out about conferences, meetings or ministry products, then please contact us with the details on your screen. Visit our easy-to-use website at www.inthelastdays.com and register for our free e-newsletter. Get the latest news from Israel, product information, online video teaching, or watch today's TV program at a time that's convenient to you. Thank you again, friends and partners, for making this program possible.
See you same time, same station for the next program from In the Last Days.